Warning, this video contains team selection and captain choices which some viewers may find offensive.
Hey guys, and welcome back to FPL TV. Before looking at how my team got on in Gameweek 11, a quick word about OneFootball who have kindly sponsored this video. The world's best football news app is now even better, relaunching with a fresh new design. Gain access to news, scores and stats from leagues all over the world, with a brand new interface that's cleaner, simpler and smarter than ever. As for FPL, you can follow each team in the Premier League and get live updates from all the goals and assists every game week. Download it for free using the link in the description box below. After a couple of weeks of frustration, Patrick Bamford finally got his debut goal for my side with a very well taken finish against Chelsea. He's a player that I've been extremely impressed with most of this season, and in every game is getting a hatful of chances. So at a bargain 6.1 million, and with Leeds now having an extended run of very good fixtures, I'm hoping he'll continue to be a very handy option over Christmas. Leeds have home games against West Ham, Newcastle and Burnley in 3 of the next 4, so hopefully more returns to come there. Game week 11 was a very good week for the forward line in general, with my other 2 strikers also getting on the score sheet. Jamie Vardy left it very late on against Sheffield United, and I did fancy him to score against his boyhood rivals. But in many ways, his performances lately have been the opposite to Bamford's, where although Vardy may be very clinical, he's simply not getting many chances, and that's a bit of a concern considering his costly price of 10.2 million. With Man City at home to Fulham in Game Week 11, the captaincy felt very straightforward for me last week, and De Bruyne certainly delivered. His big 14-pointer was my highest captaincy haul of the season so far, and with him also hitting the bar and missing a 1v1 in that game, it could have been much more. There wasn't much joy elsewhere in my midfield though, with Ziyech blanking for a 3rd consecutive game week since buying him, and unfortunately going off injured very early into that game against Leeds. To be fair to Bruno Fernandes, although 6 points is a bit underwhelming on paper, when put into context he did very well to return that considering he was benched to begin with. The Portuguese talisman put in a superb showing off the bench in the second half, creating 8 chances. No player has created more in a game this season, and he did so in just 45 minutes. Last week I used one of my 2 free transfers and made a swap of Cancelo at Man City for Reece James at Chelsea. With Cancelo, I really thought he'd get benched for that game against Fulham, but he did start and kept a clean sheet. Fortunately though, my transfer in of James did get an assist against Leeds anyway, and therefore I only lost out on 1 point, so no complaints there. It was an exciting watch having just bought Reece James, who was constantly bombing forward and whipping in crosses, and when I saw Giroud starting for Chelsea, I was even more optimistic about his chances of an attacking return. Game week 11 also saw me finally get something from Patrick Van Aanholt, my differential punt on the wildcard who hasn't exactly justified his price, but at least he brought home an assist against West Brom. He's certainly on my list of players to transfer out soon, but he may just survive for now. So with Jack Grealish and Emi Martinez missing out last week, I went into Game week 11 with just 10 starters and they returned a respectable 70 points. Not bad considering I was a man light. With the majority of my team having played on Saturday, Kevin De Bruyne's big captaincy haul rocketed me right up into the top 800,000, rising over 1 million places, and at that point it was looking like a very promising game week. However, what I then needed was the other popular players like Salah, Son and Kane to stay relatively quiet. A big ask, I know, and with all of them returning big scores, it kind of undid all the progress I'd made. Last weekend saw many of the big captaincy options returning points, and therefore the average was a season high 62. This meant, despite me hitting 70 for the first time this season, that ended up being a pretty average game week overall, and only gave me a small green arrow rising from 1.8 million to 1.6. A very poor position, but still a bit of progress at least. So let's move on to game week 12 now, and check out my transfer plans as well as my potential team lineup. Also, if you enjoy the content here at FPL TV, then be sure to leave a like and most importantly get subscribed to the channel. You can also hit the notification bell so you always know when a new video goes live. When I used my wildcard in Game Week 9, during that game week Mo Salah was ruled out for that Leicester fixture, so the plan at that point was to go without the Egyptian for a few game weeks and then look to get him back for this game week when the Reds take on Fulham. With Hakim Ziyech not doing the business since I bought him, then moving him on for Salah was always looking the most likely, and with the Moroccan now unfortunately picking up that injury, It has made the move all the more straightforward for me. To make this transfer though, I've of course had to find some funds elsewhere, and with 2 free transfers available, I've reluctantly chosen to downgrade Jamie Vardy. I still like Vardy as an option, and this Brighton fixture can definitely suit him, but he's a sacrifice I've had to make because I simply want Mo Salah for this Fulham fixture, a strong captaincy option. In terms of replacing Vardy, I have taken a bit of a risk here, and I've opted for Callum Wilson despite not yet knowing if Newcastle's next game will even go ahead. Throughout this season, I've been a huge advocate of holding on to my transfers until the last day, just in case there are any unexpected injuries or postponements. However, with these 2 particular transfers, I had just the right amount of cash to make the moves, so I've gone ahead and pulled the trigger early. Newcastle's next 3 games are against West Brom, Leeds and Fulham, so providing they do go ahead, I really like Wilson as a short-term option. If there are more postponements, well, I've only myself to blame on this one, and I'll have to just take that on the chin. So with these 2 free transfers now confirmed, let's see how the side is shaping up for Game Week 12. Martinez and Jack Grealish make a welcomed return to the side this week, and although an away trip to Wolves is a tricky one, they haven't been scoring particularly heavily this season, so hopefully a small chance of a clean sheet there, especially with Raul Jimenez out injured. To be fair, none of my defence in general have good fixtures this week, but I'm still happy to own the Chilwell and Reece James double-up, who are both exciting to watch going forward. Chelsea are away to Everton this week, a tough fixture, but the Toffees aren't exactly in great form, and with Chelsea having already qualified in the Champions League now, it was good to see both defenders getting a nice rest in midweek before this fixture. Elsewhere, things look a lot more promising for the squad though, and providing Newcastle's game does go ahead, I'm hoping both Callum Wilson and Patrick Bamford can get on the scoresheet, with decent home fixtures against West Brom and West Ham respectively. For the captaincy in Game Week 12, for a second week running, it does feel fairly straightforward in my side. With big hitters De Bruyne and Fernandes facing each other this game week in an unpredictable Manchester derby, then for me the armband very easily goes to Mo Salah. Having him as a captaincy option this week was one of the reasons I wanted to transfer him in, and hopefully he can deliver against currently the league's second worst defence. Over the last 4 game weeks, no team has conceded more big chances than Fulham on 14, as well as conceding the second most goals in that time. Liverpool do play in the Champions League in midweek, but as was the case with Chelsea, they too have already qualified from their group. So fingers crossed they put out a weakened side here, and that Mo Salah gets a nice rest before Fulham. One of the reasons I didn't mind taking the risk on Callum Wilson this week is that I do have one decent bit of backup on the bench in Soufal at West Ham. Therefore, if the Newcastle game is postponed, then at least he can come in automatically. The last 50-50 I've now got to make this week is whether I keep Soufal benched or instead play him over Patrick Van Aanholt. To be fair, I don't fancy either of them to keep clean sheets this week, but statistically Van Aanholt is offering a lot more goal threat than Soufal, where in the last 6 game weeks he's had 10 shots to Soufal's 2. A decision I'll weigh up over the next few days. So that's how my team currently lines up for Game Week 12, and if you would like to see the final team, then as always I'll post it over on Twitter shortly before the Game Week deadline. Good luck to all of you watching for Game Week 12, FPL responsibly, and I'll catch you all very soon.